The Texas State Bobcats showed up. The App State Mountaineers did not. It's Lockdown Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by 5-Hour Energy. Go to 5hourenergy.com and use promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order, just like I did. We'll get back to that a little bit later on. That was quite the weekend in the Sun Belt. ULM. How about ULM showing up and showing out? My goodness. Cajuns 2-0. Couple of lackluster victories as well in there. And I'm not sure it affected Sun Belt teams, but I just want the refs to have some accountability, right? The kids got to go up there and say something. The coaches got to explain themselves. The refs don't. And we'll get to that. All right, so started watching Texas State, and we get a lot of overreaction, right? Especially first drives. All right, Texas State absolutely pounded UTSA 49-10. First drive ended in an interception, and the second drive ended with no points. They were stopped on a fourth down, and then it was all Texas State. Jordan McCloud was outstanding. Ismail Mahdi was outstanding. McCloud, 18 out of 27 for 309 yards. He had the one pick. He did throw for 2 touchdowns. Lincoln Pare had a big 45-yard touchdown run. He had 109 yards coming back from being injured. He scored 2 touchdowns on the ground. McCloud had 2 touchdowns on the ground. Ismail Mahdi, almost the forgotten guy, only 9 carries, 26 yards. And Chris Dawn Jr. welcoming him to the party. 5 receptions, 150 yards, and he scored 2 touchdowns. Texas State was just the more physical football team. UTSA, I believe we've mentioned this before, the official term that happened to UTSA offensively, they did bupkis. They did nothing all day. They did finish somehow with 334 yards, only rushed it 82 times or 82 yards on 30 carries. That's outstanding. And eventually, obviously, they threw the ball around, and Bobcats defenders in the second half, the reserves getting a shot to play. But Texas State was outstanding. They had never beaten UTSA. They come in last year, have beaten Baylor, and they fell flat, right? TJ Finley just didn't play that well in that ball game and had opportunity after opportunity to get it done, and they did not. What I liked from Texas State is that we saw kind of the first time we've seen at least in my mind, I have to go back and look, a well-rounded victory is is a better way of putting it, where the offense was really good and the defense was really good. Thought the coaching was good. I don't remember an egregious. Is that a big word on a Monday? A mistake by G.J. Kinney. I think there's times where I think maybe kicked the field goal. I didn't mind it. Or did he? Maybe not. Not with 49, right? Yeah, no. No, all touchdowns. I think when he went for it, I didn't have a problem with it. I just thought it was a really good ball game. They're taking on Arizona State. They certainly weren't looking ahead, right? They had a big lead on Lamar, and maybe they let up a little bit. They didn't let up in this one. It was all Texas State. It was not close at all. And I think this is the Texas State that we expected to see. We didn't get it in week 1. They do say the cliche is that the biggest improvement is between week 1 and week 2. They had a big improvement. So congratulations to G.J. Kinney and the guys in San Marcos. Not so much for App State. I was wrong on that one. I was not going for the clicks. There's nothing to click, right? I guess my episode you can click. But I really thought they were going to win the ballgame. I did. I wasn't saying that for effect. I truly believed it. I generally don't do that. That's not my thing. I can't keep track of what I'm saying unless I'm fully believe it. But I did was able to pull that clip out where I said, you got to withstand the initial push, because obviously they didn't play well. Clemson didn't play well against Georgia. They heard all week how they were bad. Same thing with Cade Klubnik. Same, not bad. And you gotta withstand their emotion. I mean, Clemson was facing 3rd and 10. App State had them exactly where they wanted them. They come up, make a big tackle. On the first play, a swing pass, no gain. Then a rush, no gain. And it's 3rd down. And what is the safety doing? The safety got beat badly. It wasn't close. Just took an awful angle on it. And boom, touchdown. 6 plays and out. They got 1 first down, and that's it. And then boom, touchdown. And then I was kind of out. All right, because we had South Alabama going on, and then the Cajuns came on, and then watched App State and Clemson because I thought we'd have a football game, and we did. Somewhere along the way, in the middle of the Cajuns' first half, I went back to the App State ball game, and it's 42-0 with like 12 minutes to go in the second quarter. I just heard on Sunday that Clemson had the best first half in ACC history. Whew. Obviously, that's not going to help the Sun Belt trying to make a case for, a playoff spot. Because even if App State runs the table and Texas State beats App State, now it doesn't look quite as good. Even if you lost, if you gave Clemson a ball game, they just didn't give Clemson a ball game. They were just outmanned, outgunned, outcoached, outplayed. It was bad. That was bad, and that's got to be as disappointing to Sean Clark and Joy Aguilar and Cade Robinson as anybody. I mean, because the game was over 6.5 minutes into the game. It was 14-0. They couldn't recover. Even after you give up a quick touchdown, you just got to have a long possession and to calm things down. And we can talk about that with the Cajuns because that's exactly what they did, right? They didn't even get a touchdown out of it, but they got a long drive to calm things down. And App State, for lack of a better term, they embarrassed themselves. All right, they just were not ready to play. I do think Clemson is probably better than I think they are. All right, defensively, they are championship level. We said that. I don't think the offense is all that good. I don't think they're nearly as good as what we saw against App State. And App State was ill-prepared to handle it. Just running past everybody, and it just did not look good for App State at all. We'll see. Everything that App State really wanted outside of maybe the playoff is still there. But they got to turn things around and just, I guess, flush it down the toilet. I don't know what you can learn from that other than not wanting that feeling 6.5 minutes into a football game that the game is over. You can't, That's got to be as demoralizing as it can be. It's one thing to get blown out in the second half. It's another thing that the game is over before you know it. And again, you got a lot of teams having good first drives and the other team rebounding and not worrying about the first drive. Right. And we'll see that here coming up with the Cajuns and Kennesaw State. So we'll do that next. We'll try to run through a lot of the Sun Belt. I'm not sure we're going to get through all of it in one episode. If the teams we don't get to, we will get to on Tuesday. But we'll talk about the Cajuns and the Warhawks. Both start 2-0. And we will talk about that right after I tell you about 5 Hour Energy. Hey, I told you I was going to do this because I need it. I got them. I got 2 24 packs. What's not in here is already been used. All right. And this will be a big week. It is Bourbon Festival weekend, and we'll be working a ton this week. And this 5 Hour Energy is going to come in handy because we'll probably get not only a lot of people, but potentially I don't want to say, VIPs, whomever. We're going to get a lot of people. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun, but I'm going to need my 5 Hour Energy to get me through the days. That's exactly what I'm going to need. And I'm so happy. In fact, I got both packages, right? We got the other one here. This one's not open yet. No, full Tropical Burst. Tropical Burst. So do what I do and go get your 5-Hour Energy. 5-Hour Energy is the brand hardworking people like you have trusted for over 20 years. To give them the alert, energized feeling they need to get through a busy, hectic day, you always know where to find 5-Hour Energy shots right at the cash register at nearly every convenience drug and grocery store nationwide. Stock up on money-saving multi-packs to make sure you never run out of delicious, energizing 5-Hour Energy shots. If you go to 5hourenergy.com, that's the number 5, energy.com, and get some 5-Hour Energy product today. You can use my promo code. I did it, and it worked. Locked On CFB to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th and only on one order and can't be used with other promotions, and it's not good on subscription orders. Go to 5hourenergy.com today. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. We'll get to the Cajuns here in a minute, but how about ULM? We sort of singled them out earlier last week before the rest of the preview because the game just intrigued me. I'll be the first to tell you I didn't realize how close Brian Vincent was to getting that job. And it just so happened that they're playing UAB in Monroe. And they got the job done. The same way, score's a little deceiving, the same way they did it against Jackson State defensively. You'd be hard-pressed to find another team that's 2-0 in America and hasn't had more than 300 yards offensively. At the same time, defensively, they've been amazing. For the second straight week, they did not give up 100 yards rushing. UAB on 35 attempts. They tried to run it 35 times, although they were down most of the game. Only averaged 2.5 yards a carry, just over that. They had 92 rushing yards. So the defense is outstanding. Overall, UAB, 259 yards. That's amazing. The thing is, here's the best part about it if you're Coach Vincent, is that you're 2-0, but there's severe room for improvement, right? This is not like we're playing our best and blowing people out, and we have a quarterback that's throwing for 250 and 300 yards and a running back running for 100 yards. No, there is a bunch of improvement that you can get. And if you can keep on winning, and all of a sudden that schedule looks a little bit different. I mean, General Booty didn't have a particularly good game. 9 out of 16, 87 yards. Did he even have 100 yards last week? He had 104 yards. I mean, ULM is 2-0 with a quarterback throwing for a combined 200 yards. Less than 200 yards. That's unheard of today. That's unheard of. So, congratulations to ULM. Again, they did it defensively. And now, you look at their schedule, and it's very different, although they do get an off week. They get Texas coming up in 2 weeks. But then they're at Troy. We'll see if Goose Crowder is hurt, how bad that is. He went down against Memphis on a touchdown scramble, which is too bad. James Madison doesn't look like world beaters. They're coming to Monroe. Southern Miss, not great. South Alabama, we'll see when Gio Lopez comes back. You figure a turf toe will be ready by then, but you never know. Those things tend to linger. You're at Marshall. Okay. You're at Auburn. Auburn lost at home to Cal. Arkansas State could be tough, and then you get the Cajuns. So all of a sudden, we went from like the toughest schedule in the history of the Sun Belt with Texas and Auburn on there to, all right, Texas is hard, but aren't all these other ball games winnable? We'll see what happens when they go on the road to Troy, and we'll see if Troy's figured it out in a couple of weeks because they haven't so far. Someone who figured it out this past week was the Cajuns. Cajuns figured it out. They get an easy win over Kennesaw State, 40-10. And this is a great example of, not worrying about the first drive. Kennesaw State playing their first FBS home game, and the place was packed. I mean, Cajuns actually played in front of Brig House on their opening day against Grambling. But they don't usually play in front of big crowds. That's not a thing. And they really did a number. And there were only 2 drives there were only 2 possessions in the first half or in the first quarter. All right. Kennesaw State had a 16-play, 74-yard drive that ended in a touchdown almost a handful of third down conversions. The Cajuns, 13 plays, that ended with a field goal. And that's about as close as Kennesaw State got the rest of the way. Cajuns were outstanding without Draylon Washington, but Ben Wooldridge was very efficient, 15 out of 19, 189 yards, but it was the running attack. Bill Davis, 11 carries, 80 yards, two touchdowns. Zylan Pare, over 100 yards for a touchdown. The Cajuns, who struggled against Grambling, had more yardage on the ground against Kennesaw State in a half than they did all game against Grambling. I think they had 118 against Grambling. They had 145 against Kennesaw State. 35 carries, 258 yards. That's a 7.5-yard average. 3 touchdowns. They look good. They get Tulane in 2 weeks. A lot of teams have off. I don't know what I'm going to do this week. A lot of teams are off. I think Louisville is off here. Cuse is off this week. Cajuns are off. ULM is off. A lot of teams off this week. It's an odd deal. Anyways, Cajuns and ULM starting out 2-0. Could be a big time clash at the end of the season. Georgia Southern with a nice win. There's that defense that we were told that they had. They had to get 2 stops in the fourth quarter. One, they forced a fumble, and then they get a 4th down stop on 4th and 1. Nice win on the road. All right. Georgia Southern defensively was embarrassed against Boise State. Nevada's better than everybody thought they were, and they shut them out in the fourth quarter. And Georgia Southern comes away with a bounce back 20-17 victory. We said kind of a must win for them. It really isn't, but it kind of is. And that's a good job by Georgia Southern to hang on defensively when they looked really bad a couple of weeks ago, last week against Boise State. Arkansas State, talk about a crazy ball game. Okay. They beat Tulsa 28-24. Let me see who it was. Hold on a second. Hold on. Tulsa, this game was 28-24. First of all, it was crazy beginning to the second half. It's 17-7 Tulsa. Tulsa throws an interception. 3 plays later, Arkansas State scores. Tulsa gives up a punt return for a touchdown. Now instead of start with halftime, Arkansas State was trailing 17-7. Now all of a sudden it's Arkansas State 21-17. 3 plays later, Tulsa scores a touchdown, makes it 24-21, and then a 14-play drive, and it's 28-24. 28-24 Arkansas State with 3 minutes and 30 seconds left to go in the third quarter. So there's 18 minutes left to go. I need 1 touchdown apiece. I need 2 touchdowns to go over the 65.5. Didn't happen. They didn't score again. Neither team. I need Arkansas State to score 1 touchdown and Tulsa to score 1 touchdown. And that would have been, right? That would have been 35-31. Didn't happen. No scoring. After the crazy beginning of the second half, there was no scoring in those in there. Punt, missed field goal, punt. Crazy. But a good job by Arkansas State. Again, Jalen Rayner, not great, but gets it done when necessary. 21 out of 32, 255 yards, a couple of touchdowns. Does throw an interception. Zach Wallace ran for 78 yards. Rayner ran for 73 yards. Very balanced with the receiving. Reagan Ely, 6 receptions, 68 yards, and Corey Rucker, 4 catches and 60 yards and a touchdowns. Adam Jones also had a touchdown. But a good job by Arkansas State to come back down 10, and then boom, 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 boom. You know, it's 28-24. What a crazy third quarter that is. And then scoring stopped. The scoring stopped. That's insane. That is gambling for you. All right, let's take a timeout. We'll do the rest. Marshall, going up against Vatech. Vatech's not that good. I'm not sure about Marshall yet. Gio Lopez got hurt in the game last week against North Texas. And so Davenport, the backup quarterback, came in and played okay, but it could be a long season for South Alabama. ODU played good defense again, but the offense is having some issues. appears that James Madison didn't care. I'm trying to figure out what happened there. Georgia State with a win and Coastal Carolina with a win. So we'll go over those games probably for Tuesday's episode. We'll go over those again a little bit more in depth. But I want to do what this is just a pet peeve of mine. Refs just don't have any accountability, at least not to the public. Maybe they do to their bosses, but they don't have any accountability to the public. And that is very frustrating to me. And we'll talk about that when I get back. Let's tell you about Ibotta. Are you lacking that dream vacation, but dreading the cost? With Ibotta, you get cash back on all of your purchases, so you can spend more time making memories and less time dreaming about them. Ibotta is a free app that lets you earn cash back every time you shop. Earn on hundreds of items from groceries to beauty supplies, even toys, so you can make sure you're beating inflation no matter what you're purchasing. The average Ibotta user earns $256 per year. That could cover the cost of an entire shopping trip, that flight you've been eyeing, or the fancy dinner you've been craving. Other apps give you points that don't amount to much. With Ibotta, you earn cash back that you can withdraw to your bank account, PayPal, or gift cards. Simply add offers in the app, upload your receipt, and voila, the money is yours. You can save on over 2,400 brands and shop at over 1,000 retailers, including your favorite grocery stores, Lowe's, Macy's, Sephora, Best Buy, and more. It's time you join the over 50 million users who use Ibotta to earn cash back every time they shop. Right now, Ibotta is offering our listeners $5 for just trying Ibotta by using code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE when you register. Just go to the App Store or Google Play Store and download the free Ibotta app to start earning cash back use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. That's IBOTTA in the Google Play or App Store and use code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. We reached out to a couple of coaches. We'll see if they will join us this week. Again, my schedule not quite as wide open as it has been in the past. I do have Tuesdays where I can maybe, as they say in the biz, put some interviews in the can to use later on. Obviously, they're usually going to be for that week because we're going to talk about the previous week and we're going to talk about the next week. So we'll see if that works itself out for this week. I do want to talk about the lack of accountability for the refs, and I just don't understand why. I think the refs should have accountability. When you make a mistake, you need to say why. Again, these games didn't affect the Sun Belt per se, but Tulane's called for offensive pass interference. Was it a pick play? Yeah. Did he push him? I don't think so. Running his route. That's what the pick play is. And in the Notre Dame game specifically against Northern Illinois, Northern Illinois got the first down. That field goal attempt should have been with clock winding down and maybe a little closer if they, get 3 or 4 or 5 yards. Now, it turns out it doesn't matter. But the thing is, now Tulane's got to go in and talk about why they lost. Now, what happens, Notre Dame, not that I'm shedding any tears for Notre Dame, I'll tell you that, but Notre Dame's got to go in there and explain why they lost. If Northern Illinois blew it at the end, they blocked a long field goal, maybe they would have had to explain why they lost. The coaches have to explain why they lost. The players have to explain why they lost or won. Why don't the referees have to explain why they made a mistake, right? And we can all see it, right? I saw it on Twitter. I wasn't watching the Tulane game at the end, but boom, Tulane got robbed. An awful call on pass interference offensively. And then, they're mocking the referee in the Notre Dame game on ESPN last night. Like, sometimes these referees are like 5-6 yards away and they're guessing on where the guy is down. This guy's on the line of scrimmage. And the running back for Northern Illinois got 2.5 yards. He's crossed the 18. The referee's standing on like the 20. How did he miss it? He gave him 1 yard. And yet these guys are not accountable. Maybe they're accountable to their bosses. I just don't know. I do know they are accountable. They get reviewed. I just don't understand how full-time officiating is going to make a difference. That's the only thing. That's the only solution I've ever heard. You got to make, especially in the NFL, you got to make these guys full-time officials. You know, they're teachers, they're accountants, they're lawyers, doctors, maybe not doctors, only because, doctors may be needed on Friday and Saturdays. But these guys have other jobs. Most of them do anyway. And so, but we don't get an answer from them, right? Somewhere along the way, like in the Notre Dame game, right? The referee got it wrong. Then they went to replay. They got it wrong again. And we never hear from them. I want to hear about it in the NCAA tournament when you blow a call. I do. When you blow a call and these kids are crying and they have to go in and explain to the press what happened, right? It's not even going to the locker room. You got to go to a room with the press, and it's usually two players with the coach. Coach says how proud he is, and the players have to explain what happened, what went wrong. Referees don't have to do that. Why not? Why don't the guys? And I know it's not quite the only thing. It's a little bit different these days. They're the ones getting paid, but this is a profession for them. They should be held accountable, just like everybody else is at their job, and they're being held accountable privately instead of publicly. I don't even care if they come up there and they say we got it wrong, or this is what I saw at the time. But you should have to go under. It doesn't have to be a cross-examination. But what did you see? Why did you mark it? You get the official. It appears he's over the 18-yard line. Why did you mark? Why didn't you overturn it? Couldn't tell. It wasn't, overwhelming evidence to overturn it. Whatever it is. But at least they'll be held accountable somewhere, and they never are. Whether it's college football, pro football, college basketball, NBA, I just don't get it. College baseball, these guys are never held to be accountable, and I think they need to be. I'd just like to see them be held accountable. That's all I'm asking. Just answer a couple of questions. You can even give cliche answers, but at least somewhere along the way, we'll get somebody to push back. All right, but at least you're out there telling, well, this is what I saw. Obviously, I was wrong, or I don't think there's evidence to overturn it. Something along those lines. You can even give me a cliche answer, but I think the officials need to be out there publicly when there's a question, and they need to answer it on video so we can all see them answer it. I just want some accountability. That's all I want. That's really all I want, is some kind of accountability, and the officials don't have any, at least not publicly, and at least not to us. All right. Thanks for tuning in. Again, a great second week of Sun Belt. Cajuns, ULM, Arkansas State, and Texas State, big wins. Bad loss by App State. Bad loss. All right. Again, we've reached out to a couple of coaches. We'll see if they'll join us this week. Everybody have a great week. It's going to be a fun week here in Kentucky. And I'm going to be using my 5-hour energy because it is Bourbon Fest. And we're going to have a lot of fun working it. I'm working it. May end up with a couple of bottles, but I am working. All right. Again, thanks very much for tuning in. I think that episode last week was the best episode we've ever had. Most views, over 1,000 views. And we're continuing to climb. We could very well be at 1,500. Looks like by the end of September. And let's see if we can get it to a little bit before that. That'd be great. Do appreciate it. Thank you so much, guys. I'm your host, Dave Schultz, and you've been watching Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day.